Hector Bellerin, Bellerin, Hector Bellerin.
Owned by Mustafi. Bellerin, Bennett, 2-2.
Hector Bellerin, Bellerin, Hector Bellerin. That's a song. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the first live edition of Saved by the Bellerin here on Sports Talkline Network. As always, joining you from the United States, I'm Raphael. And again, our London contingent is with me in order across my Zoom dial. Sam, welcome, Sam.
Hello, mate. Thanks for having us back.
Always. Also joining Sam is Dean. Welcome, Dean.
Hello, mate. Really excited for this.
Yes, as am I. And of course, closing out the roster this week is Ryan. Welcome back, Ryan.
Hello, mate. Let's get it cracking.
Let's go. All right. And we've got an exciting match on tap. Arsenal enter the match on a roll. 3 consecutive wins in the Prem, 3 consecutive clean sheets in the Prem. They've clawed their way up to 7th place, a point ahead of that club from Tottenham, who we shall not name, and face Leicester today, one of the clubs that's ahead of them, but a club that's been struggling mightily since the COVID break. Won their first match of the break last time out, but had gained only 2 points from their first 4 after COVID shut everything down. So before we head off to them, we don't want to miss out discussing the 2-0 win over Wolves, which very important. You know, we had talked about it on the last pod as perhaps the most dangerous, the most challenging match of this 4-game stretch. The season play Wolves, season play Leicester today, season play Spurs and Liverpool next week. I'm going to start with you, Ryan. Very controlled match, very different from Norwich City, which really Arsenal just overwhelmed Norwich at home, but a much tougher opponent, had to be a lot more controlled, a lot more disciplined. What stood out for you about this performance, about the way they approached this match? Ryan.
What stood out for me the most was the game management. We soaked up the pressure when we needed to, and then we hit them on the counter when we had to. And it was credit to Arteta as well, the way he brought on the subs at the right time. And I think we saw against Brighton, he didn't bring on the right substitutions. But then he's slowly learning that a lot more as time goes on. And that really stood out for me, the way we managed the game. We didn't expose ourselves too much to them on the counter-attack. And we didn't concede. I think we only conceded 1 shot on target in the second half, which is big for us, especially the way we played under Emery.
All right. Dean, another thing that stood out for me in this match, we've been talking about how the youth have adapted to Mikel Arteta, really how all the players on the roster have adapted to Mikel Arteta's management. But he leaned very, very heavily on kids. Saka had to step in because, as we know, Nico Pepe's wife was having a baby, so he was not available for that match. Saka had to play on the right side, which is not his normal side. Scored really a brilliant goal to get the match going. Brought in Maitland-Niles in the second half when Kieran Tierney was having a little difficulty. He stepped right in and solidified everything. It seems that there's nobody on this roster he can't trust at this moment.
Nobody on the active roster, no. You can see, as Ryan sort of pointed out, he learned from Brighton. It wasn't, a secret that there were some wrong decisions made there, I guess, on his part. But he's definitely taken that on board, and he's definitely, he's playing Saka in different positions, which then in turn allows him to bring other players on that he may not have brought on if Saka was only, for example, able to play in one static position. This goes against the grain of something we were discussing on previous pods about him not wanting, if you can put it as square pegs in round holes. He definitely is utilising players to their strengths as well as their initial positions. But I think this also goes back to an article that Sam did about relying on youth. He's definitely using those, younger players, but he's doing it with a very accurate blend with the experience. There's definitely nobody whose trust there he doesn't have, and whose faith, isn't being returned basically and restored on the field.
All right, and I'm going to take that. Sam, I'm going to stay with that theme, players you can trust. The back line, the back three in that match, left to right, was Kolasinac, Luiz, and Mustafi. And, for much of this season, we've seen David Luiz in the back line. We hold our breaths. Is he going to have that crazy game where he loses, where the blood rushes to his head and he makes that rash challenge, or, grabs the player and takes the needless card? Mustafi was a real whipping boy for the fans. I'll give you a little context. I was thinking about this. It was almost exactly a year ago, I saw Arsenal in the United States. And in that match, every time that Shkodran Mustafi touched the ball, the Arsenal fans booed him, to the point where I left the match with my son and we were saying, the club's going to have to get rid of this guy. The relationship, it's just cruel to him that's being booed everywhere he goes by Arsenal fans. And yet this last week we saw rumors that he's in line for a contract extension. I think we're all of the mind that he's earned that. He's been very, very consistent, perhaps the most consistent player on that back line.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, I think that he does deserve the new contract. He has statistically been our best defender. I think it's over the last 2 years. Also, with David Luiz being in the middle of a three, it gives him a bit more protection. So he's able to get on the ball a bit more and dictate from the middle. If somebody's running in from an angle, you have got the other centre back to cover around, and then he can drop in. So if they was to get past that other player, then he is the last man. But 9 times out of 10, depending on which way the player's going, is what way the defenders go. And so playing three at the back with the players that we've got at the moment, I think that's due to circumstance, due to the players' abilities. But it seems to be working for us. And touching wood, long may it continue.
Ryan, I'm going to have you kind of wrap up the Wolves recap, but let's move to the midfield. We've talked about a little bit about the attack. We've talked a little bit about the back three. To my eye, just another really kind of polished, composed performance from Granit Xhaka. And what I saw, it seems he's just so much more confident. I saw him being a lot more adventuresome with the ball, dribbling out of trouble, not trying to pass it, not trying to kick it over the top. He's just a level of assurance and confidence I haven't seen from him.
No, you're right. And it's all down to Mikel Arteta and the way he's set up the team. And it allows Xhaka to be more free in how he's playing. He hasn't got so much defensive burden on his shoulders now. Okay, because we've got a back three, we've got 3 solid defenders at the back behind him. So he doesn't have to worry so much about, if I misplace his pass, they're going to hit us on the counter, I'm going to be short. Now he's got 3 behind him, he can just be like, I'm playing that pass. And 9 times out of 10, he makes that pass. So it's Arteta, the way he's setting up the team. I don't want to say the team is built around Xhaka, but it looks like it's helping him a lot more rather than hindering him. Like under Wenger, under Emery, they didn't play to his strengths, whereas Arteta has seen that we build through the middle under Xhaka, and we're a better attacking side with him building the attack.
All right, let's change gears a little bit here. There's a lot of transfer news. We'll probably save a lot of it for the post-match. But, the Matteo Guendouzi saga continues to go from maybe from a simmer to a low boil. We've been talking about him on the last several pods. Certainly since the Brighton loss, he has not been on the bench the last 2 matches, or I think the last 3. A lot of questions about where he fits. Does he have a future with the club? A lot of speculation. And it's come out in the last 24, 48 hours that Arsenal now has put a £40 million price tag on him. and that there are several clubs in Italy and Spain who are very interested. Atletico Madrid, I believe, Inter Milan, and I believe Barcelona is the third club. Dean, let's take it to you briefly, if you can. I know we can talk about this subject for half an hour if we wanted to. What does this say? What can we add to this? It's clear the new management team, certainly Arteta, doesn't have the patience that Unai Emery did and that Sven Mislintat did.
No, I mean, I said it the other day, and it's not a slight on Unai Emery. It just is what it is. He was not tough enough on Guendouzi, in my opinion. When he first joined us, and he was playing, he hit the ground running. However, when we went on the Dubai tour recently, he was pulled up by Edu and spoken to for his conduct. Emery did nothing we're aware of in terms of it being publicly noted, but he wasn't left out of training and he wasn't pulled from games. Before this incident recently, as I said before on one of the episodes, twice prior to that, before Arteta even came in, he was pulled up. And, as you say, it's a completely different management structure now, a completely different boardroom, tougher heads on the shoulders. He thought he was, to use a phrase that's coming, the big I am. And Arteta's come in and just said to him, sorry, mate, you're not really, are you? You're going to be like everyone else. You're going to do exactly what's expected of you at a club like Arsenal. And if not, you can go. Now, it came to light recently, and I don't think many people are surprised, and it's common knowledge now that this is not the first time just in his career that this has happened. He was actually suspended at Lorient for 3 months for the same kind of attitude, the same kind of behaviour, and if it was a scuffle in the dressing room with a teammate or something of that nature. I don't know what the full story is. However, with that in mind, it's just common sense that this is ingrained in the boy. And I just don't feel that this will constantly surpass his attitude and his talent, I should say, that he has. And I just don't feel, the story is that these clubs want him and Arsenal have put this price tag on him, but also that the addendum to that was that apparently they would be willing, as me, Sam and Ryan all said, and I think you said as well, that the initial thought process to loan him. Put him in a place where he needs to see he's going to fight, where he's got to fight, figuratively speaking, for his place, for the club, see what it means to be humble, and then see if he can learn from that. If not, then shift him on. However, if a club's going to come in with a price that matches, or an offer that matches the price tag, or a swap for someone we could really do with right now, I'm not going to say no to that, and I don't think Mikel Arteta would either.
All right. Again, we can go on for a long time on this topic, but we'll wait. And for the moment, I'm going to ask you this point. Is the price £40 million? You think that's a fair valuation?
To bring teams to the table, yes. Because as we're saying, teams are coming to the table at that price. I think if we can start a bidding war going from that, leading up to probably about 55 million euros, I think we'd all be happy with that, considering that that could be a potential Thomas Partey. But at the end of the day, like for a starting bidding price, that's a fair price. Obviously, if people want to come in and try and do swaps, then that's obviously something the club's going to explore. But for an initial start point, why not? See where it goes.
All right. And to amplify Sam's point, the stories claim Arsenal is open to swap deals. So there are lots of combos, and we can try that in the post-match. Look at the 3 clubs that have stepped forward already and look for potential fits in swap deals. Some of them, Atletico Madrid's, obviously Thomas Partey's name comes to the fore, but we can pour over Barcelona's roster. We can look at Inter's roster. We can try to see if there are combinations. As Sam said, there's really a starting point for our discussion too, but we're going to keep that away because the match is creeping ever closer. Let's move to today's match. All right, Ryan, start us off. They're playing Leicester City. Again, a team that struggled a bit, seemed to find itself a little bit. against Crystal Palace in their last match, but they seem vulnerable coming into the Emirates.
Yeah, I agree. They're pretty vulnerable. I saw them at Watford. They didn't look very, very good. They lost to Everton. And that Everton game, they should have probably been put to the sword a lot quicker than they was. They've got a few injuries. Their best player, Maddison's out, injured. Chilwell's out, injured. Yeah, the right back, Pereira's out, injured as well. So they've got places we can exploit. And I feel down our left side is where all the joy is going to come with Tierney, Aubameyang and whatnot, because they've got a slightly inexperienced right back. So if we can target that, I think we'll get a lot of joy tonight.
All right, and again, that right back is named Ryan Bennett. I believe he's making his first Prem start tonight. He's on loan from Wolves.
Is he the centre back?
I think I was told he was going to be on their back line. So that's on that right side, where, as you mentioned, Dean, we've seen this. Arsenal very strong, kind of left-sided. Tierney, usually Saka and Aubameyang have been bringing the joy to Arsenal fans down that side. But today it's going to be Kolasinac, Tierney, and Aubameyang going down the left. Not so much. They've had some trouble on the right, even when Pepe was in there, getting him service. Hector Bellerin starts again on the right side. More of the same, in your opinion?
Just to point out, I think Leicester are playing a 3-4-1-2. So I think Bennett's actually playing sort of like a right centre back. I think the guy that's the right wing back is a guy called James Justin. He's 22. So I think him and Ryan Bennett slightly. I don't know. I won't make the hazard guess and say inexperienced, because I don't know too much about either man. I don't want to make that judgment. But I do feel that it is something we could take advantage of. They got Jose Perez in the attacking mid area. Very good player. In the Archer and Vardy up top. But yeah, I do feel a lot of that is going to come from our left hand side again. With us playing, obviously Bellerin's back, and Saka. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what those two can do together tonight. I would have liked to have seen Pepe start, but also would like to have seen Cedric start. But I believe it's been noted that he's being rested, so probably for the derby, hopefully. I just think it's all going to come down our left. I think it'll all come down the left, Tierney or Aubameyang, and yeah.
All right, Sam, let's look at the midfield again. Xhaka and Ceballos, a combination that has been used a lot lately. Danny Ceballos kind of get bounced around a little bit against Wolves. Bigger team, more physical club, kind of lineup that gives him a little trouble. He's going to have a little more freedom today to be a little bit more adventuresome with Xhaka behind him and the back three.
I think so, but I think what we've got to consider is, looking at their formation, we've got to be careful of not to fall into their traps. Just looking at the formation, if you're going from centre-back up to Jose Perez, they're creating a diamond in the middle of the pitch, whereas we've got a higher diamond, but it's flat in the middle. It'll be difficult, because if Jose Perez doesn't push on, then that's a player in behind our central midfield. So it may be forcing Ceballos and Xhaka to drop a little bit deeper, but I suspect that Xhaka might do that role as a halfback kind of thing, and Ceballos may be able to push on a bit more, because Tielemans, he's not too bad, but defensively he can have lapses of concentration. I don't need to say what Ndidi brings as a central midfielder. He tends to sit in the middle, but I think it'll be an interesting matchup. I think potentially we would soak the pressure and try and hit on the counter-attack. a bit like the plan was at Man City in the first game back, but unfortunately that didn't come off. But yeah, I think we're going to try and exploit them down the channels. But the central midfield battle is going to be crucial. But I think that it's something that we could possibly exploit in there also. As Arteta always says, we make them play to our game rather than we play to theirs.
All right, Ryan. When Leicester has possession, what are you concerned about? Who in their lineup, who in their attack gives you the most concern?
I think it's easy. Vardy in behind. If we're playing a high line with our three probably slowest defenders, I'm not sure we'd be able to cope with his pace in behind. But saying that, if we cut off the supply chain, then he's not going to get him behind. So I'm quietly confident about tonight. I don't think they have much going forward as we think they do.
All right. So staying with this, okay, Dean, I'm gonna bring it to you. We're in the expanded, the 5 subs. Haven't really seen Mikel Arteta utilize that a lot. He saves them pretty late. He lets his starters go pretty long. In some ways, it's almost like he's playing under the old rules. Anybody on the bench who you're looking at either to get more time just because they're working themselves back in, maybe somebody like Lucas Torreira, or anybody on there who could be the decisive player in that late charge, in that late change?
Yeah, I'd like to see Torreira get some minutes. I think he may be slightly being rested for Spurs. Same with Pepe, but I wouldn't mind seeing him a bit late on, depending on the score. I'd like to see Niles come on tonight, and maybe Nelson. But yeah, I don't need to really say it. I can already sort of see him switching out Lacazette for Nketiah halfway through the second half. But yeah, those guys probably for me.
All right, let's do our roundup matches, kind of winding closer. Sam, give me a prediction and why.
I am going to go 3-1 Arsenal. I think that we will probably go 1-0 down to a early Vardy goal, but come steaming back with Aubameyang taking on Bennett quite a few times and slotting the ball in. And I would like to say a late Eddie goal. But yeah, I think that we've got enough to beat this Leicester side. As we said, this injury hit. I think that we're definitely going to be going for the win here. So yeah, I think that 3-1 for me.
All right, Ryan, what maybe a little change up a little bit your score and how is it going to shake out?
I think it's going to go 2-0. I think with what Sam said, I think Aubameyang's going to take advantage of the lack of pace they have at their left side with Tierney. I think he'll score the first and then probably get a late one with Pepe comes on, or whoever comes on, Nketiah or Pepe.
All right, Dean, your turn.
I was actually, before he said it, thinking the exact same scenario as Sam. 3-1 us with Vardy scoring for Leicester first. I actually think we may go up first 1-0. I do feel that, I don't know why, but I could see a dodgy penalty being given to Leicester and Xhaka being sent off. Don't really want to say that, but that's kind of the vibe I'm getting. And then 2 late goals to bring us back. One from, let's say, Pepe, and one from Aubameyang. I'd like to see him get a couple though and Vardy get none, just so he goes back on level for the Golden Boot.
Bring up an interesting point. This is kind of a challenge for the Golden Boot. Aubameyang's got his rival for that on the same pitch. All right, so we talked about this. Arsenal came in off the COVID break. They were in 9th place, lost 2, dropped down to 13th. It was kind of a mini panic. Now they've slowly regained position and moved up. They're now sitting 7th. Still have a ways to go. 3 points behind Wolves for 6th. And then there's a bit of a gap to Chelsea, United, and Leicester. And strangely enough, even though Leicester is still much higher, I think they're 9 points ahead of Arsenal right now. An Arsenal win today could I just personally, I think they're the most vulnerable team of those three, just because their form has been so bad coming out of the break, but it was also bad going into the break. We've had this discussion off pod. Where do you think the club can finish and will finish? I'm going to start with you, Sam.
I think the way that we've built momentum, I think fifth is still attainable. Obviously, we're going to need to pray for some other results to fall our way, but I'm going to say the more likely position is probably going to end up being in sixth, to be honest. But hopefully it'll be a close run thing. But yeah, I probably would say sixth is going to be our finishing point. But as I say, hope for fifth, sixth more likely.
All right. And again, we've seen some debate. You know, the topic of City's hearing has come up this week. And so again, fifth still looms out there as a real potential reward. Where you finish fifth, you can in effect finish fourth. Ryan, is that attainable in your opinion?
Yeah, as many of you know, during lockdown, quarantine, COVID, I was very, very confident we was going to get Champions League football. And it took a hit at City. It got kicked onto the ground against Brighton. But I'm still confident. I still think we can put 5 wins together towards the end of the season and get fifth, fourth out of push. You look at the run-ins the other teams have. It's only United that have a pretty decent run. Why can't we catch Leicester or Chelsea? I think we could do it.
All right.
I'm going to go with fifth.
Okay. Why not? Right, Dean, you get to wrap it up. Does Arsenal still have a lifeline, however tenuous it may be, into Champions League?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm always the one trying to be positive, but obviously, on here we generally are, and I do feel we've got what it takes. I do feel take it step by step, game by game, manage ourselves, and not worry about anyone else. Whilst at the same time, as Sam said, kind of relying on those results to fall our way. But I think if we just focus, and I said this the other week, if we just keep our blinkers on and just batten down the hatches and do what we do, then I think the next time we look at the table, we could be in one very good position.
All right, and it all begins today. Again, a club that's 9 points ahead of them, as Ryan mentioned. I think Leicester might have the most difficult run-in. They play us, they play United, they play Everton. There's another club in there that can take points from them by my assessment. So keep them off balance. This is a club that's very shaky. I'd like to see Arsenal jump on them and really push them. All right, so we're approaching game time. So we want to thank you all for joining us here on the first live broadcast of the Saved by the Bellerin. This is our pregame. We will be back at halftime to give you a condensed 10-minute breakdown of what we've seen, and then we'll be back for a half-hour post-match to sum everything up for you. Okay, so for the team here at Saved by the Bellerin, I think we want to do what you want to do. Let's all go and watch the match. Catch you in 45 minutes.